For a long time, I felt like being a thinker, an introvert, someone who feels a lot, who has thin skin, who, talks about their feelings a lot, who feels anxious and worried a lot of the time. I used to think all of those things were something I needed to overcome or change. But I guess now I'm starting to feel more at home in that skin, in that thin skin. I guess I see myself as a vulnerable, open, thin-skinned, sensitive person. I guess some of my most defining moments have been being diagnosed with cancer when I was 9 and had my leg amputated above the knee, and that whole experience was very defining. I didn't really identify as disabled for a lot of my childhood. It's strange to come into your identity as disabled as an adult, because I've been disabled since I was 9, but I am only really now just meeting other disabled activists and reading about what it means to be disabled and discovering disability pride and talking to other amputees about my experiences. So I see all of my memories of being an amputee as a child through this kind of lens of sadness, I think, and regret, because I remember the feeling of being alone. There was this moment where I was wearing my prosthetic leg and I just hit puberty, and I had no idea that, the first time, this is a really full-on thing to share, and in my head I'm saying, why are you saying this right now? But I think it's important to talk about because it kind of highlights for me how alone I felt and how much I needed support and community at that time. And so I got pubic hair for the first time, and it got caught in my prosthetic leg, and the leg was ripping it out. And it was so painful, and every time I stepped and walked, I felt like I was going to die from the pain. It was just so bad. And I felt like I couldn't tell anyone around me. I didn't know any other amputees, and I didn't know that that was a normal thing that can happen. So I just put up with it, and I put up with it for years. I think it is important for kids with disabilities to know other kids with the same disability and be able to talk about it and share experiences, and to have adult role models and resources so that they don't feel alone, and so they know they've got people they can talk to if something's confusing or difficult. Every picture book I read as a kid was all about needing to overcome your fears or to achieve some amazing thing that you thought you couldn't do. So much of what we hear as kids is about needing to toughen up and be stronger and be more together and to being resilient, which is it's just a modern way to say toughen up. Vulnerability isn't seen as a strength, certainly not in children. It's seen as something that you need to get rid of to cope with things. They need to cope. And what I learned growing up as someone who just coped with things was that just means not talking about how you feel. It just means putting up with things you shouldn't have to put up with. It means getting to adulthood and realizing that you're traumatized by things. So, I have flashbacks to the time when I was on the bed being wheeled in to have my leg amputated. I felt like I coped with what I went through when I was a kid, and then suddenly I wasn't coping. I got to adulthood and realized that holding all of that in and acting like I was fine and telling everyone that I had my leg amputated but my life is awesome and everything's fine, it was a lie that made other people feel better about who I was and what I went through. And it just meant I had to deal with all of that stuff later, and it was harder to deal with. I remember at school, making speeches at assembly to my high school about disability, and I'd say things like, I'm exactly the same as you, I can do anything that you want to do. The only thing that separates us is that I put a prosthetic leg on in the morning, except that there were things I was going through that were different, and I felt like I couldn't acknowledge those differences or say that anything was wrong because that would be seen as a weakness. And I really wanted to be seen as strong and capable and able and inspiring. And people would tell me I was inspiring all the time. So I heard that so much as a kid. You're so brave, you're so inspiring. And I think, what have I done to inspire you? What do you think makes me brave? Something happened to me. I didn't choose to have cancer or to have my leg amputated. It just happened to me. I was just a kid who got cancer, who had an amputation, who wears a prosthetic leg. And none of those things make me brave. I might be brave for other reasons, but you're saying I'm brave because I had cancer. And you're saying I'm inspiring because I'm wearing a prosthetic leg. And all that does is make me confused and makes me feel like I've got to live up to that word somehow and be this kind of amazing person and to be fine all the time. And it was so confusing as a kid, and by the time I worked out why they were saying it as an adult, I was so used to behaving, I'd internalized all of that ableism, I guess. It has taken so long as an adult to kind of unpack that, to understand it, and then to start rejecting it. So I'd say something like, I've got chronic pain and sometimes I find it really hard to move and go out. And sometimes that pain is so overwhelming. But if someone has invited me to something, I'll often, if I'm in pain, say, I can't come because I'm sick, or I can't come because the kids are sick. I can't say, I can't come because I'm in pain, because I feel like people won't believe me, or they'll think that I'm being weak, or that I just don't want to come and I'm making up an excuse. Whereas if I say that I'm vomiting, it's more believable, it's more acceptable. People can understand vomit, but they can't understand invisible pain all over my body. I find that peeling off all of those behaviours is really still so used to worrying about the way that able-bodied people see me, and then acting in a way that I feel will be more acceptable to them. Chronic pain has definitely made me more open about what I'm experiencing, because I guess I just don't have the patience. I think it's kind of changed me somehow. I can't hide how I'm feeling anymore. I feel like all of my feelings I was always thin-skinned and my feelings were always close to the surface, but now if I'm in horrible pain and I see a sad movie, I'm just like, can't hold in the tears. And if I'm in pain and then suddenly my painkillers work and I have a really good day, I'm just like full of joy. It's just all over me and overflowing, and all of my feelings are just bigger and closer. And so pain has definitely helped me to kind of stop pretending that I'm anyone other than me. I'm more vulnerable, but there's a strength in that vulnerability, because I can say, this is me. I'm a disabled queer person. I live with chronic pain constantly. I don't get out very much. I find walking really hard. Sometimes I use crutches, sometimes I don't. Sometimes, I can't even get out of bed. But, this is me. So if you like me, good. And if you don't, well, bad luck. Recently I saw a video of a pop singer, an amputee, with a leg that was shaped like a spike, a black shiny spike, Victoria Modesta. And that video blew my mind because she was wearing a prosthetic leg that didn't look like a leg. And I suddenly thought, why does it have to look like a leg? Why do we have legs that look like able-bodied people's legs? And so I started talking to my prosthetist about what we could do, and that's when we designed a dragon scale leg, which I'm wearing now. Being proud about my disability, being visible, refusing to wear a leg that looks like an able-bodied person's leg has improved my life. I'm proud that I'm proud to be disabled and queer, because it's something you have to learn to do. Pride is that you have to practice being proud. I think I heard someone say that to me recently and it just stuck. I can't remember who said it, but it takes practice to be proud, because there are people out there who will hate you for who you are. Sometimes talking about who I am and what I'm experiencing, it feels like there are so many barriers in the way of doing that. And so the days where I can be proud and where I can be honest and open and share my experiences and share who I am, those are really good days. Even if I'm sharing something difficult about what I'm experiencing, I'm proud to be able to do that. So getting to the end of that sharing, that openness, and realizing that I've been able to do that, that makes me proud. So that's what I'm proud of.